we're not assuming anything, but even if he ends up playing for London in the Championship next year, I still see him. I don't necessarily see him as a player who would, not embrace that challenge. Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's spent his career there. It's what he knows. Dan Hindmarsh as well has signed for 2 more years at the Broncos, and I think that is a player that they can solidify into a squad and build around in the Championship if they did slide back into that division, which I don't want to happen, but I do start to assume, but I don't want it to happen.
It's the most likely outcome now, isn't it? But yeah.
Salford legend Paul Heighton will leave the club at the end of the month. The 42-year-old will depart his role as team and welfare manager of the Red Devils to take up a position with the charity Rugby League Cares. A former Wales international, Heighton made 210 appearances as a player for Salford between 1998 and 2008. And my takeaway on this is Rugby League Cares are starting to really get some good people in who are rugby league people but have an understanding of charity, of outreach, of welfare. I think Steve McCormack joined them earlier in the year from Wigan's community department, and Paul Heighton doing the same thing I think is fantastic for the Rugby League Cares charity.
Yeah, it's as you say, it's a degree of professionalisation which doesn't always exist within charities, having known people who've worked for them. I think that's good news.
Into the Championship.
So Sheffield duo Joel Farrell and Ryan Miller have signed 2-year deals with the 1895 Cup winners. Sheffield captain Matt James has also signed a new 2-year deal with the club.
Widnes have released winger Ryan Ince by mutual consent. Ince, 22, is a product of the club's academy and has scored 31 tries in 46 appearances, including 19 in 22 this season. I think he was their top try scorer this year. And also on the Widnes Vikings, I'll flow into this one. They've confirmed that Chris Dean will retire for rugby league at the end of the season. The 31-year-old has crossed 38 times in 178 games for the Vikings during his 3 spells at the club, joining on a permanent deal in 2012. The second rower has been an integral part of Kieran Purtell's setup in 2019, scoring 5 tries in 24 appearances. And Christine will always be remembered as a player who would do anything that the Vikings asked of him. I think that's where Christine would be remembered for me in his career there. But 31, these 2 moves strike me as and the news that we understand to be the case, that Widnes are out of special measures, all ties into a situation where Widnes are going part-time and they're cutting the cloth and they're letting people go in various ways on maybe their own terms, potentially, that have something to offer elsewhere that Widnes can't offer them anymore, maybe.
But I'm presuming Ince was under contract for next year.
Yeah.
So surely would they not be entitled to some level of fee if he signed elsewhere?
Maybe. My sort of loose grasp on this is that if you go part-time, you have to restructure all your contracts.
Right, yeah.
So maybe
that makes
you
sense.
would lose out the opportunity, and maybe they would have to give them an opportunity to move for free anyway. So this gives
a full-time contract.
Yeah, maybe gives Ince a head start on that recruitment process for himself.
Yeah, do you think he'd presumably end up at a upper echelon Championship team, you'd think?
At 22, I can't see why a full-time club wouldn't take a punt on him. However, how many full-time clubs there will be in the Championship next year is a totally different matter for me. But maybe a London or a Toulouse, if Toulouse don't go up or if London do go down, that's any club who comes down from the Super League would definitely benefit from having this guy in their squad to fill some holes that they might see lose. And I also think there's Super League squads that maybe are a bit thin on wingers as cover in their squad, and I'm thinking of people like Wakefield, I'm thinking of people like Hull KR. They might benefit from a player like this as well, I think, because I think he's a very talented young kid.
When you've just been talking, then I'm thinking Salford.
Salford, not a bad shout, yeah.
In terms of who they're losing, he will be relatively inexpensive for a team that's working to a budget. So it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up there. Not a million miles away from where he lives and all that kind of stuff. So
reasonable call, yeah.
Yeah, we will see. Scotland captain Oliver Wilkes has retired from rugby league after a 21-year career. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. The 39-year-old made his professional debut for Sheffield at 18 before going on to play for Huddersfield, Keighley, Lee, Whitehaven, Wigan, Widnes, Wakefield, Harlequins, Barrow and Workington. Wilkes, who's made more than 500 career appearances, made his international debut for Scotland in 2003 and has earned 15 caps for the Bravehearts. That's a heck of a career.
Yeah, and it's another one of those players who started in the 90s who are now seeing leave the professional fold, as they well deserve to do after such a long career. He helped Wigan in a time of need, but wasn't exactly a special player, but it helped put him on a platform where he could have a Super League career for the next 5 or 6 years, which was good for him. He's obviously done the tour of Cumbria as well. He's going to be fondly remembered in a lot of places. I don't think any fans who he played for thought anything other than this is a wholehearted guy who gives everything to the cause, and I think he's done that for Workington until injuries kind of said no more, but good luck to him in retirement.
Yeah, so while you were talking there, I was just looking up, because when he said 39, I was thought, God, was there a player that was older than me? But actually, no, he's 3 months younger. I'm still clinging on to that dream. Never mind.
No, yeah.
There you go.
And World Cup
there definitely aren't any players older than me.
World Cup news: Newcastle's Kingston Park will replace Workington as the venue for the three men's games at the 2021 Rugby League World Cup. A planned 8,000 capacity stadium in West Cumbria was originally chosen in January as one of 21 host venues, but Ulladulla Borough councillors must have received enough votes to get into position and then scrap the idea because they deemed the stadium unsuitable in July, ending Workington's hopes of taking part. I think probably a sensible decision, but unfortunate for the area in terms of the World Cup. But St James's Park in Newcastle is going to host the opening ceremony on the 23rd of October 2021. So this just expands the amount of games being played in the North East. Kingston Park is the home of Newcastle Falcons Rugby Union Club, but more importantly, Newcastle Thunder Rugby League Club, and has a capacity of 10,502 nice new stands. One and one old stand, but the cameras are going to point at modern stands, and that's what this World Cup wants to deliver, and I think that's going to help. Carsten got in touch and he said, Newcastle was the best option in my opinion. It's just sad that Cumbria didn't want to spend the money on a new stadium. And he asks, does this exclude Cumbria from the Heartlands? What do you think, Alan?
It doesn't exclude them, because it's the perennial problem though, isn't it, with Cumbria, that it can't kind of generate enough revenue in terms of getting people through the doors to actually make it make any bigger structures worthwhile. In terms of the clubs have very strong individual identities that, as much as we might go, we'll just lump them together, it doesn't quite work that way.
No, what you would need is some incredibly rich, incredibly generous person to kind of create anything other than what they have in Cumbria. Unfortunately, it's heartlands, but it's grassroots. It's not.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's the heart, as you say. It's the heartlands for community game, isn't it? Particularly, the kind of the strength of the brands of the teams that are in the community game in Cumbria are probably the strongest element of it. Really, some of the great names that everyone kind of knows. In terms of the choice of Newcastle, I agree with Carsten. Excellent choice. Now Kingston Park's a nice ground. Appropriate size, probably. Yes. That kind of stuff. Definitely thinking about that. That would be that's probably on the itinerary for the World Cup for me. So yeah, that's a good choice as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Now Cumbria has produced lots of fantastic players and still is doing. Morgan Knowles is, although Welsh, he's Cumbrian, for example, as a player who's just made the leap up into the international reckoning at the top tier. So, Cumbria still has that great role in our sport. We're hoping that Newcastle is an area that can start to deliver more and more talent through the systems and up through
Definitely.
that can find a place in the Super League level as well, because the North East hasn't produced a huge number at all of top tier talent yet. So this sort of stuff helps build on the great grassroots work that is developing in the North East, and Cumbria's grassroots are still strong and will remain. So good move all round, sensible in the circumstances.
Yep, agreed. And finally, Swinton have dropped strong hints that the club will change its name to Manchester next year. Lions chairman Andy Maisie revealed back in June that the club were considering rebranding themselves to Manchester as they aim to attract bigger crowds and sponsors. And on Wednesday, the Sun's Gary Carter exclusively reported that the Lions could change their name from Swinton to Manchester from as early as next year. Swinton have released a statement in response to the article. It read, "It's important to stress that Swinton Lions RLFC Limited will continue, and to that end we have fought off several attempts at a merger which would have signalled the end of the club as a historic entity. Swinton will remain prominent on the badge, and we will continue to play at Haywood Road. However, we must also seek to exploit the advantages that a trading name instantly recognisable across the world will give us. We see our history and heritage as non-negotiable, but we're at a crossroads in the sport, and the club has to evolve to survive and thrive into the future."
And Carsten got in touch. He said, "They try something to raise their profile. I don't know if this works, but give them a chance at least." I mean, they're going to wear blue. They're going to have a lion on their left breast. So however it's written, Swinton or Manchester, whichever one's in the slightly larger font.
Because it says Manchester now, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, exactly, yeah. I'm not sure it's going to make a huge difference, especially to a club that has a fantastic group of supporters, but there's only about 500 or 700 or so of them that go and watch them. So, 500 or so is a reasonable regular attendance. I think Haywood Road is a fantastic ground for that level of club, a part-time championship club, and anything they can do to broaden their appeal is fantastic. Whether it will do it, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it actually makes too much of a difference, but hopefully it might just start some more conversations around the city, and even if that means more people go and watch Salford, or more people go and watch Oldham, or more people go and watch Rochdale, I don't care really, as long as more people in a big city are talking about rugby league and going to watch it. So good luck to them.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I think it's coming from Yorkshire, the whole Greater Manchester thing kind of eludes us slightly, because they seem to work together quite well in some ways as an area, but then obviously they have their very strong individual identities as well. So it's interesting. As you say, it might just open a couple of doors for sponsorship. I don't see it, really changing the sponsor base very much. But if it does, sponsor base. But if it does help just open the doors with a couple of sponsors, you never know.
Yeah, I would encourage anyone who's listening, who's in or from the Manchester area, to go and watch the Lions. They play an entertaining brand of rugby. Lots of points are scored at their games, not necessarily all by the Lions, but I think if Littler stays there next year, which he's signed on to do, so obviously we expect him to, and they continue the sort of link-ups that they have at the moment and the way that he plays, I think they're an entertaining and enjoyable team to go and watch. So I would encourage people to pop down to the odd game at Haywood Road as well. Okay.
Definitely.
That is it for the news this week. Remember, if you want to be like Tom and Carson and comment on the news, then we do have a Google form for fan views on the week's news. If you get in touch with us, we'll send you a link to that, and you can comment away to your heart's content. Any news story, if you comment, we'll put it in the rundown. So do think of it that way. And also, make sure you do go on to the websites, Love Rugby League, Total RL, and also the Rugby League page on the BBC. That's where we get most of the bits we read out for you from. But do go and click on those sites and read their pieces. It all helps drive rugby league. So thanks for your views on the news. We're now going to look for what we're doing. We're going to look back at round 27 of Super League in the Super League match reviews.